Couples Will Show, and this is where we write down our love will while we are alive. As we have always said, we don't want our love will to be told when we are gone. We don't want our love story to be read when we are 6 feet under. And you know how we do it. And it is a special week. We have been celebrating all the mothers, and this Sunday we are celebrating Mother's Day. And I want to wish all the mothers who are watching us a happy and blessed Mother's Day. Karibuni sana to Couples Will Show, and tonight we have a hot topic. We are asking a question. What makes marriage a marriage? Ponder that. What makes marriage a marriage? And people out there, we have so many notions about marriage, but tonight I have an expert. She is a life coach. Her name is Rosemary Maina, and she'll be taking us through as we handle this topic. Karibu sana, Rosemary.
Hi, how are you?
Good, and you?
Nice, thank you.
Good to see you.
Me too.
And good to have good having you here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you. How is where you coming from?
We're good. Yes, enjoying everything despite the COVID season.
Yes.
Yes, but we are thankful.
We are thankful.
Yes.
And we thank God.
Yes.
Soon we are overcoming.
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can say hi to our viewers and introduce yourself to them.
Okay. Thank you very much, and hi viewers. Like Willie has said, my name is Rosemary Maina. I'm a life coach, I'm an author, and I'm a corporate trainer. And I'm glad and honored to be hosted here tonight as we talk about the couple's will and looking at marriages that thrive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So tonight we want to discuss about what makes marriage a marriage. And according to church, we are not supposed to stay together not until the D-Day. You know how we do it?
Yes.
So all this time, what are we doing?
Oh, of course, a lot is happening. But let me start by saying that's a very complex and broad topic of what makes marriage a marriage, because there's a lot in that one statement. But then looking at it from that perspective of what are we doing, a lot should be happening. Actually, a lot. And the church is justified to say that we need to take that time because it starts with your self-awareness.
Yeah.
And I always say, don't try to know another if you don't know you, because you're going to mess up somebody else.
Yeah.
So that period you're doing what you call self-awareness. You're getting to know who are you really? What do you stand for? What are your values? What are your goals in life? What's your mission in this world? What's your purpose? What kind of personality are you? What kind of character are you? What's your next version of you in the next 10, 30, 10, 20 years? What exactly are you planning to become? Because then whatever you're going to become will affect somebody else in that equation. Yeah. So if you have not defined that, it becomes very complicated when you're dealing with the other person. So there's that bit of self-awareness until to the point where you feel you know you and you're ready to accommodate another person. Then the next thing becomes knowing the other person in the same kind of details that you have taken to know yourself. Yeah. Then in that case, that's the point you're thinking compatibility, we are thinking we matching in values and all other matching that you would want to do for you to be comfortable enough that this is the kind of person I want to do life with. Yeah.
At times I find that as we are talking about having self-awareness, people will go through the dating process and courtship, but you find many people are wearing masks because you already have this person and it's like you've already made up your mind. This is the guy. Yeah. This is my Mr. Right, my Miss Right, you know. And so how do we pull off this mask and be ourselves?
Okay. First of all, I would say putting a mask is actually not to the detriment of the other person. It's to the detriment of yourself. Because you're going to get into a relationship or you're going to get into that institution with a false image. And obviously you can't fake it for long. Yeah. It doesn't take long for you to go back to the default setting because that's the person you are and it will come out. Yeah. So one thing you have to remember is that if something feels off, then it's probably something you need to think about. Because part of the reason why we put on the mask, like you said, it's because I'm thinking I got the Mr. Right and I can't let this person go despite the few things I'm thinking something is not adding up. So I'm trying to mold myself to fit into this person rather than asking myself in my default setting, would this work? Because for the 99.9% of your life, you're on default setting. So if you put on a mask, it's not to the detriment of the other person. It's to the detriment of you, because you'll either have to do a lot of adjusting afterwards, or you'll have a lot of disagreements and fights that didn't need to happen if you had not put on the mask. But then, as the person who is also observing the other person, I think you can't put a mask 100%. The reason why we always say I didn't know the person or I didn't notice it, it's either you are not keen enough, or you are using what you call defense mechanisms. So somebody saying something and you think, maybe it's a slip of the tongue. Somebody shouted at the waiter and you're thinking maybe the waiter had a problem. So you keep justifying the small things because you want it to look glorious. Then eventually, if you are really genuine with yourself, you're going to pick those things later and realize the time this person shouted at the waiter, is the time this person responded to me in a way that didn't add up. That was the real person. Just that you chose to see the glorious part and cover up this other thing, this other part of it. So whether you're covering it up for the other person or you're putting up a mask on yourself, remember it's for your own detriment. And eventually it will catch up with you. Yes.
Now, after all this, when can we say now this is the time the marriage starts?
Started.
Yes.
I think that's the complicated bit. Why it's complicated is because we focus more on the rituals and the ceremonies more than the marriage itself. And that's why you'll always hear people being told focus on the marriage and not the wedding and all those other rituals, because most people will say it started when we had a wedding. To me, wedding is just a ritual. Because I mean, there are people who probably didn't do a wedding and we would consider the marriage, whatever function they decided to have. Other people would say it's when dowry has been paid. But then their customs and their cultures where dowry does not happen. That doesn't mean those people never get really married. So when I look at it from those perspectives, that's why I say we focus more on the rituals and forget the main thing. For me, the main thing, which is marriage, happens when the two of you agree we are now ready to go at this. And when you say we are now ready to go at this, it's complex than actually people think. There's a reason marriage is called an institution. I don't know if people ever think about that. There's a reason marriage is not called anything else. It is called an institution. When you think of where that word is used in many other places, you are looking at companies, you are looking at big institutions. One of the things that these institutions have is that they will have a strategy, they will have objectives, they will have goals, they have things they have put together. And most of all, they have a vision and they have a mission. And that is what people miss from the beginning. So marriage will only start if the two of you are aligned in terms of your vision, in terms of your mission, in terms of your goals, in some of your objectives, and the strategy of you getting there. So we may not see it in that details, but when you sit down and ask each other, unataka watoto wangapi, watasomea wapi, what are you trying to do in the next 5 years, you are actually defining a strategy. And if those two of you are not in agreement in any of those things, if the two of you cannot confidently tell people that our vision and our mission for this, our institution called marriage is this, you still aren't there. So you need to get to a point where you can both confidently talk about your vision and your mission for that your own institution, and your goals and the things you're planning to do, your next 5-year, 10-year strategy. And you're both in agreement and can actually see it from the same line. When you are there, then I think you're ready, and you can actually now say we are ready to go at this thing called marriage. So the moment the two of you align in that, and of course it also comes with the values. Even institutions have values. So that if we decide part of our goals is having 5 kids, how are we going to bring them up? What are our values as a family? Honesty, love, trust, those things that we're going to allocate to our children. So when you discuss all that, then and you are all in alignment, and you can see how that is going to unfold, then you can say you are actually ready for marriage. At that point, if you ask me, marriage has started. Anybody else who comes in to do wedding, to do dowry, it is just a ritual that is expected by society to rubber stamp. But until the two of you are in that agreement, there's a problem. And that explains why sometimes you find people who have lived together for years, and one of them is just thinking, we were not married. And I'm sure you've come across that. You have a lady here with a kid who is 1 year or 3 years, and her she's married. But you have the guy here who is just thinking, no, we were cohabiting, we are bringing up the child, and you're kind of confused. So what are we talking about here? We have been living together, we have been paying bills, I have been cooking and washing, he has been paying the bills. Is that not marriage? Actually, it's not. That's a transaction. So again, the other danger we run when you don't look at marriage as an institution, we run the danger of running transactions and calling it a marriage, because you paying bills and me washing and taking care of the home, those are transactions.
Yeah.
Does not really define a marriage. So if you don't create that alignment of where you are headed, your vision, your objectives, your values, and how you're going to get there in terms of your tactics and initiatives, then until you define that and are in agreement, you still probably in some sort of a transaction, or you're just hanging out together.
Yeah.
But anybody else who comes in, they're just rubber stamping, weddings, dowries, and all those other things. They're just rituals. They do not define.
Broken relationship than a broken marriage.
True.
And so when you're dating or courting, and you realize this guy, the vision he has is too small.
Yes.
For me
yes.
to be with him. So how do you come out openly and tell this person without hurting him?
Yes.
My guy, it's a no.
That's one of the most complicated things, especially if of course you don't want to crush somebody's ego. And I always say that's the other thing we need to learn, especially as ladies. If there's something you really need to preserve is a man's ego. Depending again on how far you've gone, because the mistake sometimes people make is also making somebody go too far and invest too much.
Yes.
When you can already tell something is not adding up. If you realize this is not going far, don't allow somebody to invest too much. Because the more you invest, the more you'll be crushed when you realize it's not going anywhere. But then the other thing we say even in our normal communication talking is that part of emotional intelligence is learning to say what you mean, meaning what you say, but don't say it mean. So you can actually be able to say what you mean and mean it totally, but don't say it in a mean way. Yeah. So I don't have to come and tell you, really, or something like, your vision, that guy is not going anywhere. Actually, it might not be like your vision is small, it might be how you are looking at it. Because you see, it could be, I'm planning to probably run a whole training farm, for example, that will be across Africa. On the other side, you're thinking, I want to start a juakali that is making wheelbarrows. And then after that, I expand it. Doesn't mean your vision is small, actually. It's just that you're targeting a different maybe group.
Yes.
And your business model is different. So actually, me trying to demean you is wrong. Doesn't mean you're actually thinking small. The only thing would be our alignment in terms of your business model, or our alignment in terms of the goals that you're following are a bit different. So I prefer you talk to that person in terms of either goals or values. That probably in the next 10 years, I don't even think I'll be in Kenya. So in that case, I'm actually likely to mess you up. So for example, if maybe I'm thinking the kind of business I'm doing or the kind of work I'm into, in the next few years, I'll probably want to explore being outside Kenya or being outside Africa. And you don't have the thought of you relocating yourself, and you're justified in it. I always say your goals are valid to you, and you're justified to believe in them. So I don't have to crash your life by hanging around, then one day I disappear. So you can look at it in terms of goals, but you can also look at it in terms of values. Sometimes I always say the person is actually not actually a bad person. It's just that your values don't really match. For example, it could be my biggest value in life is growth from an academic perspective. So I'm thinking I need to chase my PhD or something. Your value in terms of growth could be something totally different. And that doesn't mean it's wrong, just that it's different. So you can actually talk to that person in terms of either values or goals that we differ in this perspective. Or we differ in how our perspective of life, how we view things, how we interpret the world, which is obviously influenced by many other things. So I think the thing we need to learn is to learn how to talk to people without being mean. So I don't have to make you feel like you're a bad person. I can actually talk to you in a way you actually feel better. In the sense I'm validating your goals, I'm validating your values, it's just that they're different from mine. And that's the essence of emotional intelligence. I always say if you can fire somebody and you can both laugh, you're a really good communicator, and you should learn that even in a relationship, to let somebody go without making them feel like they are a lesser human being.
Now there are these people who got married. They came together, they just met somewhere and love at first sight. They got married. They are married for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and now they are coming into a realization. They are getting now this self-awareness. And they are feeling like, okay, so what should they do?
Okay. Of course, they are in a totally different scenario from somebody who had not jumped in. And we normally say marriage is a very sacred thing. Even if you jumped in because you went there one night and never went back home, or whatever it is that happened, love at first sight, whatever happened, and you just somehow went on. if you found yourself in there, the danger of life is that you don't stop evolving. You as a person, you keep evolving and realizing who you really are. And it's true, with time you might actually realize I'm a totally different person than I thought, or he or she is a totally different person from what I thought. But because you're already into it, I think the most mature things first of all is to sit down and ask ourselves, we need to realign. We need to realign in the sense that now we know ourselves better, but you're already deep into it because probably you already have children, you have invested into it. And I always say, as human beings, you can always find a compromise. And that's the beauty of being a human being, that you have the reasoning and the capability to work things out. So it's just being vulnerable enough for both of you to realize we jumped into this maybe out of a physical attraction, but now we need to think harder. We need to realign our goals in terms of where we are heading. We need to realize where our gaps come in terms of, is it values, is it goals, is it view of the world, all those things, and then see how can we realign and make a compromise for each other for us to keep going on and still have both of us happy. That's how I would look at it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's lovely. Now, as we talk about what makes marriage a marriage,
Yeah.
can a marriage be complete without sex?
Wow. That's a tough one. Because one of the things people will tell you, not just people, maybe even as a psychologist, I would tell you is that love does not equate sex. And I know we have a way of just thinking love equates sex. Love is huger, is bigger than we think. Because we also, friendships is also love.
Yeah.
Dealing with our parents, dealing with our friends, platonic friendships, they are there and they have an amount of love.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from a marriage perspective, it becomes a bit deeper.
Yeah.
Because I know even from a biblical perspective, the moment you get into a marriage, then there's that feeling of your body becomes mine and my body becomes yours, which is really justified because I think maybe from the beginning God had it that sexual intimacy brings people close together. It is there obviously even for conception, for emotional connection. It comes with very many other things. And so I would say it doesn't mean it is not marriage, because we say marriage is defined, when you are defining those things, maybe sex was a very small thing. When you're deciding about your vision and mission and your values and your goals. Sex was probably a small thing, and it probably came because of the emotional connection that you need to maintain, and maybe the conception of your children. So in that case, it doesn't mean that because it's not there totally you do not have a marriage. But the only downside of it is that it is likely to cause difficulties in that marriage, so that if sex is not there for whatever reason, then you're going to find people struggling. Then of course you have other issues that come in terms of cheating, or somebody being very resentful because they feel they're not getting their conjugal rights. If they think it's a right for them to get it. So it's not, you can't say it's not marriage, but you can say it's a difficult and a troubled marriage.
Okay.
Yes.
So from the beginning, when God is creating Adam and Eve, he's sending them and telling them, go and subdue.
Yes.
So can we really say we will be able to subdue or do that which God asked us to do without sex?
I would look at it in many angles, because you see, you can lack sex for different things. You could be sick. I mean, if your wife is bedridden or your husband is bedridden, really you can't say that by both things. Your body is by body. So even as we look at it that way, we have to look at it in terms it has to be pleasurable and it has to be good for the two of you.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be at a point where it's inflicting pain. So you have to ask yourself, why is it not there in the first place? So that when it is not there, then we can deal with the why, because we are acknowledging it's going to give us problems. Because of course we need children if you're in marriage, we need the pleasure and we need the emotional connection that comes with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a case I'm handling.
Yeah.
There's this couple. They are compatible in everything apart from sex.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask, when you get married and you go to the honeymoon, you don't have sex.
Yeah.
You come back. You've gone all the way to Mombasa.
Yeah.
You come back and nothing. And maybe this other person is thinking, maybe ni pressure.
Yeah.
Wacha tukirudi home, maybe pressure
It'll be
zitashuka,
okay. Yeah.
kila kitu kitakuwa sawa. Then you go down one line, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, nothing has happened. What is that?
Okay, it could be many things. Of course, you would want to know where it started, and it's the other side of it is, of course, if it's a church marriage, you expect these people did not have any intimate connection between or encounter before that, and so now marriage has happened, and there's an expectation. So one of the things I would wonder is, did that conversation ever happen somewhere during premarital counseling, or just during dating? And that's why I say dating is me knowing you, you knowing me.
Yeah.
And some of me knowing you is that I have libido, that I would struggle to hang out with you and abstain until marriage. If somebody realizes that there seems to be such gaps, there could be a lot of things to it. We are talking, is it that this person has low libido or sexual desire? Is it that this person has psychological issues? Is it that this person has medical issues? What else could be behind all this? And then looking at it in terms of it has been years for your case, my assumption is that they have probably tried maybe counseling. That's why they came to you as a counselor. They probably have gone to a doctor, and the doctor is thinking, I can't see anything wrong here. So everything else standard looks okay. But this one of them still feels like I do not have the desire to be intimate with you. So it would bring me to a small group of people that we have intentionally or unconsciously ignored, and we call them the asexuals. The word asexual, we use it very broadly and vaguely to mean that there are people who do not have an automatic sexual attraction, when we put it that way. By sexual attraction, I mean they don't have a libido problem. Libido is basically that intention or that feeling like you want to have a sexual release. It's like an itch just to get the pressure off you. And they also do not have a problem maybe with sexual desire, in the sense that they can actually have sex sometimes, either for the other party or just for pleasure that comes with it, the physical touch that comes with it. What they might lack is the sexual attraction, the fact that they can actually see a person and they do not feel the attraction to have a sexual intimacy with that person. So what people find interesting with such people is that you could bring them the most beautiful girls in the world or the most handsome men in the world. They will look at them, they'll appreciate, they look good, but their thoughts do not go beyond that. They do not think the thought a normal person would think, like I would want to have sexual intercourse or sexual intimacy with these people. So that does not occur naturally for them. So the word asexual is also, like I said, it's very broad. So it ranges from people who totally lack or have almost zero sexual attraction. Then in the middle, we have people who we call the grey sexuals. The grey sexuals means that once in a while, they actually get that sexual attraction. But what it means is that they do not chase sexual intimacy. They are not the kind of people who wanaenda wakikatia watu for sex. But they are also not against it. So if they find themselves in a situation where they need to have sexual intimacy, they will, based on need and the circumstance. But it's not something that chases them. That's why we call them grey, because they're not on the extreme. Then on this other end, we have what we call the demisexuals. The demisexuals have sexual attraction based on circumstance. For example, most of them will have the sexual attraction after they have created a very strong and deep bond or emotional connection, meaning they have hung out with you, you have had a lot of connection, you can laugh, you can have your friends, like you've really, really connected. It's not like they saw you. They're probably the people who never understand what a one-night stand is. They don't know that. Because they can't meet somebody and just get attracted like that. They have to really, really create that connection for them to get to the point where they now feel the sexual attraction and they can have that sexual intimacy with you. So what you're saying about these people is they are not celibate. They have not decided that I don't want to get sexually intimate. They do not have low libido. They do not have medical psychological issue. They are not lacking a partner. They do not have any sort of fear as far as sex is concerned. They're actually normal people. Most of them, you will find them in marriage, like you're saying, because they enjoy friendships and emotional connections. So you'll find them in marriages. Some might have kids, especially maybe the demisexuals and the grey sexuals, because once in a while it will happen. So they are normal people that we live with on a day-to-day basis. But of course, noting that sexuality is not a topic we talk a lot about, they might just go quiet and deal with it until a time like now when they have come to you because one of them have realized, I'm not taking this for another decade, there's a problem, maybe we need to talk about it. So they are there, and we kind of are either not aware of it, and those who have it kind of suppress it and don't talk about it.
Hold it right there. Hey people, yes, we are talking about what makes marriage the marriage. And I know you are there, you are following us. leave a comment. We are now talking about these people called asexual. If maybe you are out there and you've gone through this, or you are one of them, you can kindly write down, tell us something about these people called asexuals. We are continuing to know more about asexuals. Rosemary.
Yes.
Being asexual, is it something that comes out naturally, or what happens for one to become an asexual?
I like that you say naturally, because yes, it comes naturally, and that's why I started by demystifying or removing the fact that it's not something psychological. So you are not bullied, you are not sexually assaulted, you do not have one of those psychological fears that would say are making you maybe avoid sex intentionally. So realize this person is not avoiding it intentionally. It is just not coming out naturally like it would. So yes, it's something as natural as maybe you being more talkative and me being reserved. You see the way personalities, we just realize this is who I am. It is actually the same. It's something that comes out almost naturally. You just need to be aware of that and then figure out how do I want life to unfold based on that. Yes.
So when you get married to someone who is asexual, and this other person is a normal person like myself here, what happens in this marriage? Okay,
let me start by saying doesn't mean you are normal than the other person. So doesn't saying that you're making the other person feel like they are abnormal. They are not abnormal. So it doesn't make you more normal. Actually, it just makes you different. It's just like the way
sorry,
you
maybe I would have said non-asexual.
Exactly, that's a better term. You have to watch discrimination.
Yes.
Not because namatetea, but because I think looking at it from a life coach and as a psychologist, you would want them to know that actually it is not a disability. It just makes you different. So like you said, if you're married to such a person, of course you expect a bit of challenges, especially if you didn't know from the beginning. And that's why I talked so much about dating is for self-awareness. Because you need to know you first. And maybe now have the guts, like you're saying, to tell the person, this is the kind of person I am from a sexuality perspective, so that you try to figure it out way before marriage. And with a counselor, that's actually doable, because at that point you're able to figure out, are you a total asexual? Are you a demisexual? Are you a gray sexual? Where are you fitting in this spectrum? Because based again on where you fit in that spectrum, the other person now can see, how do I come in? Because they're also able to compromise and see where to meet. The challenge comes in when you didn't know from the beginning, so your partner also didn't know. So in marriage now, like your clients are, and then you realize this person actually doesn't click. Doesn't matter what kind of lingerie or I show up with, like it doesn't click for this other person. So it becomes very, very difficult. So I think the first stage for such people would be like they have done to come to somebody like you, and then try to figure out, where exactly does this person lie in this spectrum? What kind of, who am I? Let the person first figure themselves out and be genuine about it. And like, at what point do I ever get any sexual attraction, if I ever do? Am I able to compromise? Because sometimes it's also about being open-minded. Am I willing to compromise and try? Because eventually most of them, the demisexuals and the gray sexuals, they enjoy the sexual intimacy. Just because they don't get the attraction doesn't mean when they get to the act they don't enjoy it. They do. So if that person is open-minded enough to figure out, where do I lie in this spectrum and what actually works for me, then in that case you can help now negotiate with this other partner who is non-asexual to see where do they meet and how do they make it work for both of them.
What do you think? How does this make us, or how does it affect the creation of God? How I mean,
you feel like it totally messes us up and what God promised us when he brought us into this world. I'm a positive person, so I look at it in different angles. First of all, it makes us appreciate how different we can be and how unique we actually are. And it gives us that chance to stop thinking there is a standard human being, because from a sexuality perspective, we have created a standard human being who should have high libido, high sexual attraction, high sexual desire, high everything, and fit into marriage, and everything fits like key and lock. But in a real world, we have people who are not fitting in that key and lock, and doesn't make them lesser human beings. It makes them different and unique human beings. So it kind of humbles us to realize that we are all unique in different ways. And when we look at it from that perspective, then it also makes us become more self-aware and more keen especially when it comes to now dating and premarital issues. So much so that don't just go in with a blanket thinking like everybody enjoys sexual intimacies like you do. We first drop that blanket that we have very unique individuals, and we, as individuals, we need to be open enough to accept if we are the unique individual, and the other person needs to be open enough to accommodate that there are those other unique individuals. So I think for me that's the first way I look at it. That from a positive angle, it makes us appreciate the uniqueness of God's creation as human beings, how unique and different we actually are, and how we need to learn how to accommodate each and every human being, irrespective of how different they might be from each other.
You know, I'm wondering, you know, from the church, we teach people to abstain.
Yes.
So I'm now wondering, should we now give a leeway here that you can go and experiment and know what kind of person is this guy you're getting married to? Or what should we do as the church now?
As the church.
I know there are pastors who are watching. I know there are pastors who get this link. How should they handle this?
And that's a genuine concern. And of course, I don't want you to be thrown out of the church because you bring that motion, it's probably going to go very wrong from a religious perspective. And I also understand where it's coming from, because that might also be a way of opening up promiscuity. If I'm going to date 100 people before I get married, do you imagine how many people you'll have slept with? And I'm not saying everybody has to date 100 people, but truth be told, very few people meet the very first person they meet and they probably get into marriage. So if you open that door, you open a door for promiscuity, which is obviously not a good thing, even for the society, leave alone from a religious perspective, even for the society, because it comes with very many other things. The moment you have had too many of them, there is comparison that comes with it, there is self-esteem issues, a lot of stuff happens. That's a whole different topic by itself. So I think what we probably need to learn is to create better programs before marriage. And I think that has always been my thought. And I have always felt like premarital counseling is not adequate to prepare somebody for marriage. First of all, because of the masks you talked about. And sometimes the mask you have during premarital counseling is actually not a deliberate mask. It is being overwhelmed by emotions and how much you have loved this person and how you have already visualized your whole life with that person. So anything else that will be introduced in that time, it doesn't have much of an impact. I don't know how many people have come to you for my premarital counseling, and then during that season they said, I think we are not ready, or I think I don't want this person now because I've realized 1, 2, 3. Many a times it's you trying to open their eyes, but the two of them, they are gone. They have already made their decision.
There's a couple who came to me and I told them, for now you need to stop. Stop everything. You need to work on yourselves.
Yes.
And since that time, I have never seen them again.
Exactly, because that's a shortcoming of premarital counseling, that people come in too late. So I feel like the church, being the people who are also trying to advocate for abstinence, like we are talking about, they need to introduce people to more of self-awareness, like you're talking about, and maybe into the details of sexuality. What are the things you need to look out on yourself in terms of your sexuality? And for example, how would I know maybe that I'm asexual, or maybe have that thought? Because if I'm dating you, Willie, and we are hanging out, and I've never been tempted to either think of a kiss, or I'm not struggling to abstain. Because I think a normal human being should have that struggle, mentally or even physically. And that's why you, as the counselor or as a church person, you're trying to guide them to avoid such temptations. But if you're hanging out with somebody who is not feeling that temptation, actually they are fine. They can hang out with you the whole day. You guys are having fun. And
the whole night you can even sleep in the same bed.
Exactly.
And I don't have a problem.
Yes. If you are having such kind of thing, you should start thinking, maybe I'm asexual because I'm not having that physical sexual attraction. I'm not seeing you and thinking having a sexual encounter with you. I'm enjoying the emotional bond, I'm enjoying the friendship, but it is not going beyond that. If it's not, chances are you are asexual. So from a church perspective where we are preaching abstinence, that would be a good way of looking at it. Because if you're hanging out with somebody, then you're thinking, this one become a mawe too, like I feel nothing. They can survive this thing like forever. It should actually ring a bell that you are probably asexual. So maybe what the church needs to do is create better programs that teach sexuality and more of self-awareness before premarital counseling, so that people are more self-aware. But also maybe look for a way of making people more open during dating, so that I can confidently tell you, in terms of sexuality, this is who I think I am. So that you don't get these surprises and you can make an informed choice. Yes.
Now, I'm thinking, why should you know you are an asexual and then go ahead and marry someone who is non-asexual?
Wow, very interesting. It's like asking why should you cook and then eat all the food. Human beings are, first of all, human beings can obviously be selfish. Because I also want to, if you are the person I've really picked and I'm thinking this is the best wife I'll ever get, this is the best husband I'll ever get, of course, first for the image and your character and all those things that we look at from outside, I'm thinking I don't want to lose this person. So wacha ninyamazie and hope that in future we shall deal.
Yeah.
So one of these is people could be selfish to that level, or just because they need to maintain that society expectation of I don't break an engagement, I can't drop this person because they look good enough. So there's that aspect of it. But the one I see a lot is the stigma that comes with you telling them they are not normal. You just told them, yeah, we are normal. So you are not abnormal. So it's that stigma by itself, that discrimination by itself. And that's how huge stigma and discrimination is, especially in matters of sexuality. It is for the same reason a man would rather die than say they have something like maybe erectile dysfunction. Or it's for the same thing women are going to depression because they cannot have children. Because things that are sexually related come with a lot of stigma. So you can imagine if you can get stigma for things that are known. What about for something that seems like you got it from a dictionary and you're creating it yourself? Or it's just a Western thing. So that stigma in itself can actually make somebody just go quiet. So I would think if such a person, if you really realize you really need a lot of guts, you need somebody who is as informed as you as a counselor or as a mentor to be able to navigate it and talk to the other party and be open in the sense that this person might decide I'm not able to deal. And if they are not able to, then it's fine. You still need to find your life because really that's not the only thing that defines you. But instead of getting into marriage and then struggle for 10, 20 years and maybe eventually end up with a broken marriage. Yeah.
Do these people even get erection? The asexuals. I'm curious.
You're curious?
Yeah.
They should, maybe not as fast as you people who think are normal. but what you're trying to say here is, you see, what I started by defining what sexual attraction is, what libido is, what sexual desire is. So they're only missing the sexual attraction bit. The fact that it doesn't matter how handsome or pretty you are, you're just not going to trigger them. But once in a while, like you said, like for the demisexuals, once you create that emotional bond, once one of those moments happen, because their libido is okay, and they actually have the sexual desire, they have the desire to have sex, maybe not as often. So for that to happen, and considering they also get children, some of them do actually, even if they are doing it just for the other partner or just for the pleasure of it. Yes, they do. Yes.
Now for this case, now this couple has been married for 4 years, 6 years, and another one 19 years.
Yeah.
They've never had sex. That is to say, they don't even have children.
Yeah.
What would you say to such a couple?
Of course, the first thought that would come is that they lie on one of them. Let me not say they, because I'm sure it's not both. One of them probably lies on the extreme of their sexual, where you have almost zero, little sexual desire. I mean sexual attraction. It might only be complicated if the person also has issues of libido, because it's also possible that you're an asexual and have a libido issue. Just like anybody else who is non-sexual can also have a libido issue. So it could be a combination of being an asexual, low libido, and even lack of the sexual desire. So first of all, you need to first define where does this person lie. Are they purely asexual? Are they asexual with a combination of a libido issue and a sexual desire issue? If they're not purely asexual, the other thing that could have happened is they could be in the gray area where it could happen once in a while, but because they already got the torture from the honeymoon that you can't do it, and of course, especially if it's a man, it kind of tortures that person psychologically. So they might never be willing to try. And considering they don't have a sexual attraction, it means it doesn't bother them as much as somebody who probably would want to get that release every other time. So for them, that psychological suppression could have worsened the situation, and that's why it could have gone that far. So it could be a combination or a number of factors. Yeah.
So what would you Hey people, you have heard it for yourself. What makes marriage a marriage? That was our topic. Rosemary,
Yes.
that was amazing.
Thank you.
You have learned a lot. Give us your parting shot.
Okay, my parting shot would be that, like we said from the beginning, marriage is an institution and it's deeper than we probably take it. But for you to be able to fit in well in that institution, the biggest thing you need to do is your self-awareness. Be really aware of who you are before you engage the other person. And be open and honest about all aspects of your life, not just your personality and character, but as deep as your sexuality, so that you can also be open enough to let the other person know who they are dealing with, so that in future you don't get into issues that you could have probably addressed from the beginning. So self-awareness is very, very key. Know you as much as possible and then jump in and enjoy this institution that is called marriage. Thank you.
Wow. How can one get in touch with you?
Oh yeah, thank you very much. I run a brand called Enlightened You. So if you go online, you check out my website, www.enlightenedyou.net. enlightenedyou.net. You'll find all the contacts, the programs, and anything else that we offer under life coaching and corporate training. Thank you.
For sure, we need to be enlightened.
Yes,
I agree.
Yes.
I agree.
That's my mission in life.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Thank you very much. This is a discussion we cannot finish through one show. And so we will be doing another program about asexuals. If you're out there and you're one of them, kindly get in touch with us. You can come and share your story. Feel free to come and share your story. If maybe you fear cameras, we can do something, you not be seen, we can change your voice, but just come and share your story. And this is Couples Wheel Show, and this is where we ride down our love wheel while we are alive. We don't want our love story to be told when we are gone. And this can only be found on Wema TV, the voice of hope. Remember, we are not monologue. So kindly, we need you to interact with us. Leave a comment. Tell us what you have learned tonight. What makes marriage a marriage? My name is Willie Kinyash, and for now, it is a good night. God bless you. God bless you.